Why do you wake up in the morning? Most people answer that question what they do or how they do it. But those are just outcomes. The real question is deeper. Do you believe in why you do what you do? Because belief is where action begins. We've been taught to wait until we're ready, to wait until we're perfect, to wait until someone gives us permission. But here's the truth, no one is coming to hand you belief. No one is coming to push you into action. That responsibility and that power is yours. You see, belief isn't about ego, it's about clarity. When you understand who you are and why you matter, that's when you stop doubting and start doing. That's when you stop needing permission and start making progress. Taking action doesn't mean having it all figured out. It means moving forward even when the path is unclear. It means trusting that the person you are becoming is more important than the one you've been. And belief is the fuel. When you believe in yourself, not in a shallow, motivational poster way, but in the deep knowing that your life is meaningful, your voice is needed, and your impact is real. You don't just act, you inspire. So the question is, are you living in fear of failing, or are you living in service of becoming? Your purpose doesn't wait. Neither should you. Believe in yourself. Take action. The world is already moving. It's your turn now. Too often, when we think about building confidence or taking action, we immediately jump to the how. How do I start a business? How do I get promoted? How do I become more disciplined? These are important questions, but they're not the first questions. The first and most powerful question you must answer is why? Why are you doing this in the first place? Why does it matter? Why does it deserve your time, your energy, your heart? You see, the how is logical. The what is practical if you decide. But the why is emotional, and emotion is what drives us. People don't push through failure because they have a checklist. They push through because they're anchored in something bigger than the struggle. That bigger thing, that inner anchor, is your why. It's not about being perfect or having a 5-year plan. It's about knowing what makes your efforts meaningful to you. Without a clear why, even the best plans fall apart. Think about it, how many times have you started something with excitement? A new diet, a side project, a goal, only to give up a few weeks later. It probably wasn't because you were lazy. It was likely because you never deeply connected with the purpose behind your effort. If your why isn't strong enough, your what will lose steam, and your how will feel like a burden. When you start with why, every action you take becomes part of a larger story. You decide. You're not just working hard. You're working towards something that aligns with your identity and values. You're not just going through the motions. You're building something that matters. And when that clarity is in place, action becomes less about pressure and more about momentum. You're not forcing yourself forward. You're pulled forward. This is why some people seem to have unstoppable drive. If you decide, it's not because they're more talented or more disciplined than you. It's because they are connected to a reason that is deeply personal. Their goals aren't just about external success. They're fueled by internal conviction. And conviction is far more sustainable than hype. Starting with why also gives you resilience. Life will throw setbacks your way. Rejection, failure, disappointment. If your efforts are only tied to a surface-level goal, you'll quit when things get hard. But if your why runs deep, you'll have a reason to keep going even when motivation fades. That's the difference between a dreamer and a doer. One waits for ideal conditions. The other acts because their purpose won't let them sit still. It's important to note that your why doesn't have to be grand or dramatic. It just has to be real. It could be wanting to create stability for your family, make a positive impact on others, or express yourself fully in your work. What matters is that it's authentic to you. Because if it isn't, no amount of external motivation will sustain your action. So before you chase success, before you copy someone else's strategy, and before you jump into another project, ask yourself, why am I doing this? What matters to me enough that I do it even if it was hard, even if it wasn't popular, even if no one noticed? That's the foundation. That's your fuel. And without it, belief and action are just noise. One of the most limiting beliefs we carry, often without even realizing it, is the idea that we need someone else to authorize our ambition. We've been conditioned by systems, institutions, and even well-meaning people to think that progress is only possible when someone in power says, "You're ready now." But the truth is, you don't need permission to start. You just need belief. Belief that your voice, your vision, and your action matter. This pattern starts early. In school, we raise our hand and wait to be called on. At work, we wait to be promoted before we lead. Even in our personal goals, we wait for the right time, the perfect plan, or someone to validate our dream before we take the first step. But life doesn't reward hesitation. It rewards movement. If you're always waiting to be chosen, you're handing over your potential to someone else's schedule. What we often miss is that permission is a mindset. It's the internal green light we either turn on or leave red. Waiting becomes a habit that sneaks into every corner of our life. Waiting to feel confident, waiting to feel qualified, waiting to be liked. And yet, confidence doesn't show up before the action. It shows up because of the action. Qualification is often the result of doing, not the prerequisite for it. So if you're waiting for all conditions to align, you're likely waiting forever. Some of the most impactful ideas in the world didn't come from people who were the most ready. They came from people who were willing to act before they had it all figured out. They didn't ask, "Am I allowed?" They asked, "What will happen if I don't?" That shift from external validation to internal ownership is where personal leadership is born. And make no mistaking, leadership isn't a title, it's a choice. Here's something uncomfortable but honest, saying no one is thinking about your dream as much as you are. That can sound lonely. You decide, but it's actually liberating. Because if no one else is responsible for validating your goal, then no one else has the power to stop you either. You don't need a resume full of accolades to speak up. You don't need a platform of followers to create impact. What you need is a commitment to stop waiting and start building. Often when we say, "I'm not ready," what we really mean is, "I'm afraid." Afraid of judgment, afraid of failure, afraid of standing out and not being accepted. But those fears only grow stronger when you let them sit in silence. Action shrinks fear. Every time you act without asking permission, you reclaim a little more of your agency. You reinforce the belief that your voice is valid and that your direction is your choice. Refusing to wait doesn't mean being reckless. It means being courageous. It means recognizing that your ideas, however imperfect, deserve to breathe. That your efforts, however small, count. Because momentum doesn't start big, it starts honest. It starts when you stop outsourcing your confidence and start leading from your core, not from your comfort zone. So the question isn't whether you're ready. The question is whether you're willing. Willing to stop waiting for someone else to believe in you first. Willing to take the risk of starting before the world claps for you. Willing to own your journey without waiting for a map. Because every day you hesitate, someone else with half the experience but twice the boldness is already out there creating. Not because they were given permission, but because they gave it to themselves. Belief is more than just a positive thought or a fleeting moment of confidence. It is the foundation that powers every step we take toward our goals. Without belief, action feels like pushing a boulder uphill. Every movement exhausting and uncertain. But when belief is strong, action becomes natural, almost effortless. Because it's fueled by a deep inner conviction that what you're doing matters. That conviction transforms obstacles into challenges and setbacks into lessons. When you truly believe in yourself, your purpose, or your vision, you activate a force inside that pushes you forward even when external circumstances are unfavorable. This isn't blind optimism or denial of reality. It's an anchored hope grounded in self-trust. It's the knowledge that failure is not the end but part of the journey. That belief fuels resilience, and resilience fuels action. Without belief, resilience becomes fragile, and action becomes sporadic. Conversely, when belief is absent or weak, even the simplest task can feel overwhelming. Doubt creeps in, whispering that you're not good enough, not ready enough, or not worthy enough. And those doubts kill momentum. They cause hesitation, procrastination, and eventually paralysis. It's why so many good ideas and ambitions never see the light of day. Because without belief, action doesn't ignite. Belief also acts as a filter for the noise around you. The world is filled with distractions, naysayers, and comparisons that can derail even the most talented person. But when your belief is anchored in your own values and purpose, you become less dependent on external validation. You develop an internal compass that guides your actions with clarity and courage, regardless of what others say or do. This internal belief system makes action more consistent and authentic. Importantly, belief doesn't mean you start at 100%. It's a seed that grows over time, often as a result of taking the first few steps. This is a crucial paradox. Action and belief feed each other. Sometimes you act because you believe, and sometimes you believe because you act. Small wins, learning from failure, and incremental progress strengthen your belief muscles, making future action easier and more confident. Belief is contagious. When you embody belief in your vision and yourself, it inspires others to believe too. This collective builds communities, movements, and lasting change. Leaders who act from a place of genuine belief don't just achieve their own goals. They ignite the passion and courage in those around them, creating momentum that transcends any one individual. At its core, belief fuels purpose-driven action. If you decide, it's the difference between going through the motions and moving with intention. Purpose-driven action feels meaningful and energizing because it's aligned with something deeper than external rewards. When your belief aligns with your purpose, action becomes a form of expression, a way to bring your values into the world. Finally, without belief, even the best strategies, resources, and plans fall short. You can have all the tools in the world, but if you don't believe you're capable or worthy of success, your actions will be half-hearted or inconsistent. But when belief is your foundation, every action you take builds on a powerful, unshakable conviction. And that's what turns dreams into reality. One of the biggest barriers to taking action is the belief that you need to have everything figured out before you start. We convince ourselves that every step must be planned perfectly, every risk carefully measured, and every outcome predicted. But the reality is that waiting for all the answers is the surest way to stay stuck. Life doesn't hand out perfect blueprints. It hands us opportunities to learn as we go, to adjust and evolve with each step. Perfectionism often masquerades as preparedness. We tell ourselves that if we just wait a little longer, gather more information, or develop more skills, then we'll be ready to act. But in truth, waiting for readiness is a trap that can immobilize even the most capable people. The truth is that action itself is the best way to find your answers. When you take the first step, you gain insight and clarity that no amount of theorizing can provide. Many successful innovators and leaders didn't start with a fully formed plan. They started with an idea, a belief, or a simple why, and then adjusted course based on what they learned from the journey. The path forward often reveals itself through trial and error, not through a static, unchanging roadmap. The willingness to move forward without complete certainty is what separates those who progress from those who hesitate indefinitely. The fear of the unknown is natural, but it shouldn't paralyze you. If you demand all the answers before moving, you risk missing the window of opportunity altogether. Sometimes, the best way to learn what's possible is by jumping in and embracing the uncertainty. Action creates feedback loops, successes and failures that sharpen your instincts, refine your goals, and open doors you didn't know existed. In addition, waiting for all the answers often means waiting for external validation. You look for experts, mentors, or market research to give you permission or reassurance. But no one else can see your entire potential or your unique perspective. Only you can decide to start based on the information and resources you have in this moment. Taking imperfect action is a bold statement of self-trust. This idea also reframes failure. When you don't expect to have all the answers, failure isn't a disaster, it's part of the process. Failure becomes feedback, valuable data that helps you course correct and improve. It's a sign that you're testing your assumptions and stretching beyond your comfort zone. If you wait for certainty, you eliminate the chance to learn from real-world experience, which is often the richest form of education. There is power in embracing uncertainty. It fosters creativity because it forces you to think dynamically and be open to new possibilities. It teaches flexibility and humility because you accept that you don't have all the answers. And it builds confidence every time you act despite the unknown. You prove to yourself that you're capable of navigating complexity and ambiguity. Ultimately, action without all the answers is a declaration of faith. Not faith in perfection, but faith in your ability to adapt, learn, and grow. It's the recognition that your journey won't be linear or flawless, but that's okay. Moving forward with imperfect knowledge is the only way to uncover the clarity, confidence, and success you're seeking. There is a common misconception that believing in yourself means having a big ego or an inflated sense of self-importance. But self-belief is fundamentally different from ego. Ego is fragile, defensive, and often dependent on external validation. Self-belief, on the other hand, is quiet confidence rooted in a deep understanding of your worth and your values. It's steady, grounded, and unshakable, even in the face of criticism or setbacks. Ego tends to shout and demand attention. It's preoccupied with being right or superior. Self-belief listens and grows from experience. It doesn't need to prove itself to others because it knows its own truth. When you believe in yourself without ego, you're able to stay humble and open to learning. You recognize that your value is not based on comparison to others, but on the unique contribution only you can make. When self-belief mistaken for ego, many people hold back from owning their strengths or stepping into leadership roles because they fear being labeled arrogant or boastful. But confidence and humility are not opposites, they coexist. True self-belief empowers you to speak up without aggression, to lead without dominating, and to pursue your goals without diminishing others. This distinction is important because ego can actually block progress. It makes you resistant to feedback and unwilling to admit mistakes. It creates insecurity disguised as arrogance, which leads to isolation rather than connection. Self-belief, by contrast, builds resilience because it allows you to face challenges honestly, learn from failure, and keep moving forward without the need to defend your worth. Understanding that self-belief is not ego also means embracing your imperfections. It means recognizing that you are enough as you are, even while striving to grow. When you're driven by ego, you chase perfection or approval. When you're driven by self-belief, you accept your humanity and use your experiences, both successes and failures, as fuel for authentic growth. This kind of belief is quiet but powerful. It doesn't demand the spotlight, but knows it can stand in it when necessary. It's the internal compass that keeps you aligned with your purpose and values. And because it is not dependent on others' opinions, it allows you to take risks, try new things, and persist when the path is unclear or difficult. In practice, self-belief manifests as a calm assurance that you can handle whatever comes your way. It encourages you to trust your instincts and make decisions even when doubt creeps in. This doesn't mean you ignore feedback or stop seeking improvement. It means you operate from a place of strength, not fear or insecurity. Ultimately, the journey of self-belief is about developing a relationship with yourself that is based on respect and kindness, not judgment or comparison. It is about knowing your worth so well that you don't need to prove it to anyone else. When you separate self-belief from ego, you unlock the ability to act with both courage and compassion toward yourself and the world. So, today, the choice is yours. You can wait for the perfect moment, the flawless plan, or someone's approval. Or you can believe in yourself right now and take that first step forward. Remember, every great journey begins with a single action fueled by belief. It's not about having it all figured out. It's about having the courage to start despite uncertainty. When you believe in your why, refuse to wait for permission, and understand that action is the path to clarity, you unlock a force within you that no obstacle can stop. This is your moment to move from doubt to determination, from hesitation to momentum. Trust yourself, lean into your purpose, and take action, because the world is waiting for what only you can give. Believe in yourself, take action, and watch how your life begins to transform